Why not use the equalizer instead of the QHP since the whip has longer range?
So base jumper, sticky jumper, and caber.
Classic plus razorback plus bushwhacker.
Why using Scottish resistance when you can use a sticky jumper?
Liberty Launcher plus Bison plus Equalizer.
Not even begun the video.
Worst loadout for NG, I got you. Rescue Ranger plus Ranger plus
Ugh, no. Well, a couple months ago, I made a video on what I thought the worst loadout in TF2 was. And ever since, I've been getting suggestions on what you guys think the worst loadout would be. And look, I know you guys want a sequel to that video, but I don't think I can go through the mental turmoil of using bad loadouts again. So, let's just settle for one bad weapon at a time. Like I said before, TF2 has 160 unique weapons, so it's no surprise that some are better than others. But some are downright unusable, while others are surprisingly usable. So today I'm making it my duty to find out which weapons truly are trash and which ones just get a bad rap. To help visualize how bad the weapons are comparatively, I'll be using a tier list, because they're trendy and cool. They're still cool, right? Right? So it's time I go back to the lab to find out what TF2's worst weapon is. But first, we gotta discuss the rules. First off, I will not be taking random crits into consideration when rating weapons, even if clips in the background show random crits. This is because love them or hate them, I don't think random crits should be taken into consideration when talking about the balance of weapons because random crits are, in essence, unbalanced. Second, I am not a competitive TF2 player at all, so I'm just sticking to what I know, and I'll be ranking weapons based on their use in 12v12 casual settings. Third, multi-class weapons have to be bad on all the classes they can be equipped by to be counted here, just to make things simpler to understand. So for example, the shotgun won't be on the list, just because heavy doesn't get much use from it. And lastly, I'm not taking MVM into consideration because vanilla TF2 and MVM are too different to be ranked together. And with all that out of the way, let's get this suffering started! The Babyface's blaster is all about speed-fueled dopamine highs and slow down lows. The weapon lets you go up to 50% faster, which is absolutely insane. This is so fast, in fact, you can outrun your hitbox, which totally isn't broken at all. And all you need to do to build up this speed is deal 100 damage with any of your weapons. That's less than a meat shot. That's nice. Problem is, there's a catch. If you double jump, you lose 75% of your boost. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's not so bad. I guess the boost of horizontal mobility is balanced out by the lack of vertical mobility.
Boost reduced on hit. Boost reduced on hit. Boost reduced on hit.
I won't lie. This is definitely me when I'm driving.
Oh, crap!
Ah!
25 damage is all it takes to bring you from 100% to 0. 2 pistol bullets, any splash damage, any crossfire, and poof! It's gone. This stat used to make me hate the weapon. I cast it into the trash, never to be used again. But then I saw a little video called Bad Weapon Academy from Fish Stick on a Stick, and I felt my brain expand. You see, he has this little trick called the Speed and Bleed, which involves you using both the Rap Assassin and Guillotine. 2 of my favorite scout weapons to use already. You see, bleed damage also counts towards boost building. So hitting your enemies with these projectiles gets your boost charged quickly and from a safe distance. With this knowledge and his blessing, I was finally able to see that the Babyface's blaster is actually a really fun weapon to use. You get to go at insane speeds and kill people and run away before they can even react. With that said though, it's still not a perfect weapon. You run fast, but you still lose it just as quickly. And you still have that clip reduction, like every single scout unlockable does. I can't in good conscience place the Babyfaces in F tier, but the sheer speed and fun of this weapon lands it firmly in the E tier. I mean, this weapon lets you no-scope headshot, what else do I need to say?
I'm a silly monster. Guess
Talk about fumbling on the final stretch. This weapon was so close to being good with just one stat holding it back. I guess I'll start by talking the positives here. The classic lets you charge and fire shots without needing to scope. This is massive for preventing tunnel vision, thanks to, well, not having to look through a tunnel. To balance this out, there's a damage penalty for body shotting, which I guess is fair enough. But then there's this stat. No headshots when not fully charged. This stat absolutely tanks this weapon single-handedly. Without the ability to quickscope or partially charge your headshots, it essentially means you have to wait 3.3 seconds to deal any substantial damage. This gives your enemy ample time to leave your sight line or an enemy sniper to absolutely destroy you. At this point, you might as well just use the Huntsman. It just kinda does what the classic does better. That's not to say the classic is entirely useless. You just have to use it more carefully. Often charging the classic from around corners and walls and only peeking when the shot is charged helps prevent you from being easy pickings. And I really suggest running either of the SMGs with the classic, as you're really weak in 1v1s without them. This is because the already mentioned damage penalty, but also just tapping the mouse slows you to a crawl, which often gets you killed in a 1v1. If you want to play sniper without getting tunnel vision, and the Huntsman's projectile is too hard to aim for you, I suggest the classic. But outside of that niche use, I just don't think there's much use for it. D tier. The laser weapons have been in a permanent state of disappointment ever since they've been released, which really sucks because aesthetically they're some of the coolest weapons in the game to me. And the worst part is that even though the bison wasn't even good in its prime, it just kept getting nerfed and nerfed over the years. First there was Meteor Match, which fixed a bug that was clearly an intentional function of the weapon and made the projectile slower than a rocket. Then Jungle Inferno came, which gave it back the multi-hit attribute and increased the projectile speed, which seems good on paper, right? But in the same update, flame particles were changed. And believe it or not, the bison uses flame particles. Now the bison deals roughly 46 damage at point-blank range, which is half of the shotgun. It's actually terrible. When compared to the shotgun, the bison also has a 33% clip reduction, fires a painfully slow projectile even a revved up brass beast heavy could dodge, has a slower fire rate, and deals practically no damage to buildings. Compared to this shotgun, there's no reason to use it. It's worse in every department. However, the bison has a hidden stat that's a total secret unless you're experienced with the bison like I and a few others are. And it's that people respect the bison. Whenever you kill someone with a weapon in TF2, there's always a chance that they get salty and complain about whatever weapon you killed them with. But that never happens with the bison. If you kill someone with the bison, they just think, nice, they did it, and leave a compliment in chat. It's the most wholesome weapon in the game, and I gotta give it props for that. Before Meteor Match, the bison was one of my favorite weapons, so it's with a heavy heart that I place it in the S tier. Yes! You fool! You suck! You... If there's an award for the most forgettable weapon in the game, the Pain Train wins. Like, I bet you had to take a second to remember this exists. The best part about this weapon is the name. All aboard the Pain Train! It lets you capture points as fast as a scout as Demoman and Soldier, which can be pretty solid for Soldier, especially for bat capping, but ultimately not super useful. But for Demoman, who's a very defensive character with his stickies and grenade launcher, it just isn't necessary. It's worth noting on maps with no points to capture, it's the only objective downgrade in the game, giving you 10% damage vulnerability to bullets for no upside. It's not that good on either class it can be equipped by, but its downside is pretty lenient, so I guess I can't bash the thing too hard. D tier.
Nom 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 nom.
I freaking love the killing gloves of boxing. I love mowing down the entire enemy team with crits due to some overconfident spy walking into my fists. So knowing how much I love the KGB, it's no surprise when I say I wish I could use it like a primary weapon. Wait, what's this? A gracious gift from the heavens above? Buffalo steak sandvich. Guaranteed mini crits for your melee. Increased speed? Well, butter me up and call me Captain Crunch, I gotta try this out. Oh. Okay. Yeah, it's kind of a shame this weapon turned out as bad as it is. The idea of a melee-based subclass of heavy is super cool to me. The problem is, at its best, the steak is outclassed by the minigun, and an active handicap at the worst. It's not like melee-based subclasses are a bad idea. Demo Knight is super fun and effective to play. However, the most important thing that Demo Knight has that Steak Heavy doesn't is the ability to cross the gap between their enemies. Heavy has no way to catch up to an enemy with the increased speed, which means all your enemies have to do to beat you is just literally walk out of the way. And even if you make it within melee range, you have to be careful because something that's not even listed in the stats of this steak is that it gives you a 20% damage vulnerability when eaten. This gives you an effective 240 health, which granted is more than Demo Knight, but it doesn't matter when you die from trying to hopelessly run at your enemy for a melee kill. Yeah, I know I've trash-talked this weapon for a while now, but let me say, when this weapon works, it works. You can go on some seriously nasty melee sprees with this steak, especially when used with the KGB, which gives you guaranteed crits after just one kill. Speaking of Heavy's melees, let's discuss how they work with this steak. It works okay, I guess, but you're not getting those sweet, juicy crits on kill. Oh yeah. Sure, you'll be dealing a whopping 114 damage per swing, but you'll have an effective health of 168, giving you less health than a pyro. Why are these weapons even in the same set again? You'll have an effective health of 80, but you'll move a whole 10 hammer units faster, yeah! You could do worse, but when your crit hits do no damage, why even bother? Honestly, this can be a pretty solid option, but exclusively against people who have no idea what they're doing, because they don't know you have an effective 120 health against melee. Oh my... No. However, I do think there's one option besides the KGB that can be effectively used with this steak. And it's the Apoco Fist, because when you punch people they explode, baby, yeah! This steak goes in B tier. So as some of you may have noticed over the course of my videos, I like to play heavy in very unconventional ways. There's nothing more satisfying to me than rampaging as Fat Scout or flanking the entire enemy team as the slowest class. So knowing how I like to play heavy, you'd think a weapon like the Eviction Notice, which actively encourages you run fast and punch your enemies, would be a match made in heaven, right? I'm gonna get a kill, I'm gonna get a kill with it, I'm gonna get a kill with it! I think this weapon is hot garbage, and let me explain why. First, let's start out with that speed buff, the closest thing that this garbage has to a redeeming feature. Well, I mean, it would be a redeeming feature if the Gloves of Running Urgently didn't exist, which has double this speed. For a frame of reference, the Gloves of Running Urgently lets you have the same speed as Engineer, Sniper, and Pyro. The Eviction Notice leaves you slower than a Demo Man and slightly faster than a Soldier. If you're using this thing for this speed, then why not just use the Gloves of Running Urgently? Well, the Eviction Notice tries to bring some offensive capabilities to the table. The Eviction Notice gives you a speed boost whenever you hit an enemy, which can actually make you go seriously fast to bring your enemies down. Oh wait, what's that? 60% damage reduction? Yeah, There's a 60% damage reduction. It takes 5 melee swings to kill a scout. Why are you going to punch your enemies when your melee swings do significantly less damage than Scout's bat? These two stats completely counteract each other and make this speed boost completely and utterly useless. And to top it all off, there's the health drain. Yeah, just like the gloves of running urgently, your health is drained while using this weapon. You deal less damage than the stock bat, your health drains while you're using this weapon, and you're expected to punch people with it. Ugh. A tier, get this trash out of my sight! The Sharpened volcano fragment is a good weapon on the wrong class. Like, what's the point of dealing afterburn with your melee hits when your entire arsenal does it anyway? Now imagine if Demo Man or Sniper had a weapon like this. It'd be a pretty solid pick. Pyro having this weapon is just kinda redundant. I've seen some people try to say this weapon has some use, like pairing it with the Flog to charge or using it in medieval mode, but yet again it's outclassed by much superior options in each. With that said, the Volcano Fragment makes for a pretty hilarious albeit impractical combo with the flare gun, but that's about it. A tier. But this isn't the only disappointing volcano-themed melee weapon. Seriously, why do the coolest weapons always have to be the worst? Like you got the Bison, Pomson, Classic, Volcano Fragment. Now this? You gotta be kidding me, Valve me boy. The Sun on a Stick deals crits to burning players, but that's kinda useless on Scout since any of his primary weapons would be better for taking down a burning player anyway. There's also a fire damage reduction of 25%, which is good. But only while deployed, which is bad. Because you kinda have to be a freaking idiot to run out of pyro with a melee weapon that does 26 damage per swing. Another theoretical use of the Sun on a Stick is negating afterburn, reducing afterburn damage from 4 to 3 per tick. But when you're the fastest class in the game with health packs, dispensers, and medics abundant in nearly every match, it isn't really worth sacrificing the damage and utility of your other options. But hey, at least it looks cool. A tier. This weapon really gets a bad rap. Like, people seriously lump this thing in with the Pomson and Bison in terms of badness. Like, I get that the upsides aren't that great, but I mean, come on. Is the 20% firing speed penalty really that bad? It's a tenth of the second and suddenly it's unusable? I'm about to tell you the truth, and some of you are not gonna like it. The Enforcer is good.
You dog crossed the line this time, Thewhat. I'm on some subscribing. Okay, bye.
It's just that the Diamondback is so broken, anything that isn't the Diamondback just seems like trash in comparison. Now, imagine a perfect world where the Diamondback doesn't exist. A damage bonus and resistance piercing at the cost of 10th of a second slower firing speed doesn't sound so bad now, does it? But yeah, even though I've been talking about how passable the downside is, the upsides aren't much home to write about. The 20% damage threshold lets you two-shot light classes, I guess. The resistance piercing works, I guess, although it's really situational. You can kill Fists of Steel Heavies, although running up to a Fist of Steel Heavy to shoot them is kinda stupid. You can kill a Vaccinator Medic, although running up to a medic in their pocket with your gun out would be kinda dumb. Oh, you could use it to gimp the battalion's backup, which is actually pretty good. If anyone used it. It's a good weapon, just a really boring one. It goes in F tier. Now let's talk about something much more interesting. The Ambassador is still really good, actually. To a majority of people, it feels like Jungle Inferno was this cataclysmic event that absolutely killed the Ambassador. But like, no? Yeah, you can't be a bargain bin sniper anymore, but if you can hit your shots, you can absolutely demolish people who think you're helpless and weak. 102 damage from a spy is nothing to laugh at. There's a reason every spy main on YouTube still uses the Ambassador. It's because in the right hands, it's like using the Diamondback, except you get to keep your integrity if you can believe that. Plus, landing headshots is super satisfying. Nope! Got another headshot. As far as the downsides go, it's not that bad either. Provided you hit headshots, the damage penalty is pretty non-existent, and the slower firing speed isn't that bad either, as you want to wait a bit between shots anyway so the accuracy improves. The crit damage falloff is the worst stat, and it's still an improvement over the revolver's damage at a range. It's just that damn Diamondback gets to have infinite range while the Ambassador doesn't. Seriously, why? This is prime F tier material right here. Seriously, it's still really good. And with that, part 1 is over. Sorry, I gotta split this into multiple parts, because if I tried to knock this out all at once, I'd end up looking like this. Also, we're about to hit 10k, or already did while I edit this. I am way too lazy to rewrite this script. Either way, thanks. I appreciate the support you guys have been giving me in the comments, and recognizing me in-game, and even the few of you who donated some gifts. Huge thanks. Except this guy who sent me bad rats too. I'm giving you the opposite of thanks.